Hello everyone, and welcome to another book review in Alex's reading room. Today we are going to be reviewing my favorite book of all time so far, as of May 30th, 2024. My favorite book of all time, and that is The World of Susie Wong. This lighting is tough to get right, but I'm trying. I also have a second version of it. It's the same book, just a different cover. And I think this cover was actually inspired by the movie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like the movie cover, but I found this at my local bookstore and I just had to get it because it was already my favorite book. But this is my favorite book, and first of all, spoiler free, I'm going to give you a brief overview of it. This is an excellent book. I cannot recommend this book enough. So, first of all, I gave it an age rating of 15. Now, if you know anything about the book, then you might think that it deserves an 18 rating. However, once you read it, you might come to realize why I've only rated it a 15. So, it is 339 pages in this book that I have, and the other version I'm sure it's fewer because it's definitely thinner and smaller pages, smaller print, all that good stuff. However, I rated it a 1 out of 3 on sexuality, and it's kind of crazy why I did that. It's not crazy once you realize why, but I will say that the premise of the book, and I guess this is like spoilers on the back of the book, I don't know, that's not really spoilers. The premise of the book is, it's about a man named Robert Lomax who falls in love with a Hong Kong prostitute named Susie Wong. Now you might think, Alex, to which I would say yes. And you might ask, why is it rated a 1 out of 3 in sexuality if it's about a man that falls in love with a Hong Kong prostitute? Well, dear viewer, I will say that it is done very tastefully. The subject is talked about with much caution. There's nothing explicit. It's so tasteful in the way that it conveys it that I would, I don't know, it's done very well, the way that it's written. So, only a 1 out of 3. And the 1 out of 3 is just because of the premise. It's not based on anything that really happens. I don't know, there might be some kissing, but there's nothing explicit at all. So that's crazy. I mean, that basically alone is what warrants the 15 age rating. It's just the fact that it deals with prostitutes. But it's written very well. It's done very well. And next we have language, which I have rated at a 0 out of 3. I did not find a single curse word in this book, so you can rest easy on that knowledge at least. The substance, I rated as a 1 out of 3. And as you may know, drinking and smoking each warrant a 1. So if there are both, then it's a 2, and then any instance of hard drugs is immediately a 3. I believe there's only some drinking. There might be some smoking, so it might warrant a 2, but I can't remember. But a lot of the book actually takes place in a bar, so drinking is definitely going to be present in the book, but it's just so light, it's dealt with so lightly that I feel a 1 out of 3 is warranted. As far as death and injury, I can't go over why I rated it a 1 out of 3, but it does get a 1 out of 3. And as far as advanced, this book is definitely an advanced read. That's actually one of the reasons I love it so much, is it's very intellectually stimulating. It's a romance book written for a man. That's not to say anything about anything, okay, before you get on me about that. It's a separate statement, okay? It's definitely a romance book written for a man. It tells the man's perspective. So disconnected statement, just so we're clear. But going back to my previous point, it is an advanced read, so definitely prepare to think a lot. I have encouraged some other people to read it, and I've gotten good reviews. People have said that they have enjoyed it, but some people had an issue with the advanced writing style. So if that is not for you, you might want to avoid this book. Now, even though this is what I would consider a romance book for a man, I would recommend all women read this too, to be honest, because it's still just a great story. I don't know. It's a good story. I rated it a 10 out of 10. Once again, I don't rate very many books 10 out of 10, but this one definitely deserved it. Now we're going to move on to the spoiler section, just in case you want to avoid them. And here we go. So there's not a lot that I'm going to reveal just because I want to spoil a little bit just to get you intrigued, but I don't want to spoil everything. I actually previously recorded a review of this book and it was like 45 minutes and I just went into detail about the entire story. And I don't want to do that. That's why I'm re-recording this. But first of all, I want to start off with why it gets a 1 out of 3 on death and injury. There is a section where Susie Wong has tuberculosis. She survives. But there's also an instance where it's talked about how Susie Wong stabs another prostitute with scissors. And she is completely nonchalant, completely unrepentant about it. And I thought that was just very hilarious. I think a lot of readers will. Like, what are you doing, Susie? But definitely, I would say that it's a 1. If we actually saw the scene in which she stabbed the other kid, her name is Betty Lau. If we actually saw that scene, then I would probably rate it a 2. But the fact that the only reason we know about it is that Robert is actually not in Hong Kong at that moment, and she gets a letter from Susie that's basically saying that she stabbed Betty Lau with the scissors and everything. I think it's from Susie. It may have been from one of her friends. But anyway, so that's why it gets a 1 out of 3 on death and injury. This book is divided into 3 parts, and they're each very well done and very aptly named. The first one is called The Girls, and that's where you meet Susie and you meet the other girls of the Nam Kok Hotel. You meet Wednesday Lulu and Gwenny Lee and Minnie Ho, and I think you meet Betty Lau. And there's 2 older prostitutes that they talk about that Robert has an interaction with. I can't remember their names. Lily, I think, is one of them. I can't remember, though. So, but that happens. And then part 2 is called The Men, and it deals with 2 very important men in Susie's life. Aside from Robert, they are Ben and Rodney, and I won't go into them too much because like I said, I don't want to spoil everything, but they are very well-written characters, as are the rest of the characters in this book. Honestly, every character feels like a real personality, and this book is a complete work of fiction, but I could have sworn that this was nonfiction, or like a memoir or something like that, if I didn't know better. So they are very well written. Ben honestly, the 2 men represent the 2 different kinds of undesirable men that prostitutes have to deal with. I think Ben represents the fact that many men will look at a prostitute as an object and never take them seriously. And even if the prostitute begins to develop feelings, the man will never take them seriously because he just sees it as a business transaction, which it is. Let's be really honest. Rodney represents the kind of man that is just absolutely insane. Okay, look, Rodney is a basket case. I have to say that he is just bat poop insane. Bat guano insane. Now, the third part is called The Lovers, and I will not reveal exactly what is in that part, but it is very well written, just as all the other parts of the book are. The story has excellent pacing. It conveys Robert's perspective exceptionally well, and it ends on an interesting note, I feel. When I finished reading the book, and by the way, most of this book I read in 2 days. I actually read most of this book in 2 days. I started out and I was reading a chapter a day or a chapter every couple of days or whatever, and then eventually it got so good, I'm like, I remember being at work and like, I can't wait to get home and finish the story. The pacing is exceptional as well. It does not feel like it goes too fast, and it doesn't linger too long on different parts. I think that Richard Mason completely hit it out of the park with this book, and I mean, there's not really anything else to say, but except for the ending, what I was going to say is, it ended on a very interesting note. When I finished the book, I thought, like, why did it end there? It ended at almost a confusing point. And so I thought about it, and I realized after a while that, like, actually, the story of Susie Wong has been told. Like, there's not really anything left to tell. The only thing that's missing is, well, I can't even say because that's a little too far with the spoilers. But just an excellent book all around. 10 out of 10. 15 on the age rating. I'm going to conclude the review right there. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe for more book reviews, and let me know what you think of this book if you have already read it. If you haven't read this book, does it sound intriguing to you? What do you know about Hong Kong? And this is set during the 50s when Hong Kong was still a British colony. So have you read Richard Mason's other works? Because I know that he's written other books, but I have not read his other stuff. What do you think of his other works? I want to know. I want to hear from you. So let me know that. Anyways, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next book review.